Under the direction of Marlon Lynch, Michigan State University Vice President for Public Safety and Chief of Police, and with approval of MSU President Samuel L. Stanley Jr., MD, the focus and structure of the MSU Department of Police and Public Safety has been adjusted to better represent the priorities of the Spartan community. The reorganization took effect July 1st and places greater emphasis on community engagement, diversity, equity, and inclusion, relationship violence and sexual misconduct, professional standards and public integrity, and behavioral support services. Many of the changes directly align with recommendations made by the Task Force on Racial Equity Police Working Group and the initiatives outlined in the Relationship Violence and Sexual Misconduct Strategic Plan. Deputy Chief Andrea Munford will lead the Community Support Bureau, including the Special Victims Unit, Center for Trauma-Informed Investigative Excellence, and the Community Care Unit. Munford will continue her role as Special Advisor to the President on RVSM issues, and it's great to welcome Chief Lynch and Deputy Chief Munford back to MSU Today. Great to see you both.
Hey, Russ. Thanks for the invitation.
Good morning, Russ.
So we're starting a new series where Chief Lynch is going to bring some of his key leadership team members in to talk about their particular focus, which we're going to do with Andrea today. We're going to call this Chopping It Up with the Chief, this series that we're going to get going. So, Marlon, before we start, 6 months on the job, any surprises? Just kind of remind people how you've come full circle from a criminal justice student already working in the police department in Meridian Township to coming full circle to lead the public safety at your alma mater.
Well, Russ, it's actually been a bit surreal. It is a fantastic opportunity to serve my alma mater in this capacity, having the ability to make positive contributions, have impact on, directly on our community with it. So it's just a great opportunity. Surprises? No real surprises. The national narrative on police reform has been in play a little bit now, so I'm not surprised that there was a task force in play that would have recommendations. But overall, it's been a great and warm reception to return. A lot of my colleagues that I began my career with prior to leaving Meridian Township are now in leadership roles here in mid-Michigan as well. So it feels good, but we all know that we have plenty of work to do to continue to move things forward.
So talk about your adjustment to the focus and structure of the department to better represent the priorities of the Spartan community. What are some of those priorities? Talk about the changes you've made, why you've structured things the way you have, and tell us about your leadership team and what they'll focus on.
Yeah, I felt it was important that we align to the mission of the university. For several reasons. We are directly representing the university in pretty critical areas with that. And to be able to align our mission with the university goals would then be consistent with overall expectations. Our community would be familiar with what those goals are and why we're actually doing what we do. And the structure needed to reflect that. And so we still have our what would be called traditional police services, but by having an emphasis in direct relation to community engagement and community support, meaning everything from behavioral support to relationship violence and sexual misconduct. But what we do every day is engage with our community. And so having diversity, equity, and inclusion be a part of everything that we do is going to be important. And so the structure was built with that in mind.
And let's turn to a key member of your leadership team, Chief Lynch. That's Deputy Chief Andrea Munford. Andrea, tell us a little bit about your career path at MSU to where you are now.
I actually graduated from MSU in 1996 with a bachelor's in criminal justice, and I started with the department in 1997, so almost 25 years. Started out on patrol, worked in our community engagement unit. I actually spent 5 years on a cold case homicide task force with the county, Ingham County and state police, and learned really a lot about what survivors of lost family members go through and how traumatic that situation can be. In 2014, we started our Special Victims Unit within the Investigative Bureau, and we really framed that around being trauma-informed, victim-centered, and offender-focused. And we really started that foundation, focused a lot on the work by Dr. Rebecca Campbell and the research she's done on the neurobiology of trauma.
And tell us a little bit more about what trauma-informed means.
Yeah, thank you. Trauma-informed really looks at the social impact, the behavioral impact, what it's like for someone to go through a traumatic experience, and it affects everybody differently. So we need to be aware of what happens to folks as they go through trauma so that we can understand to do our investigations better, really working with people on an individual basis. You know, in the past, there's a lot of guidelines on how to do an investigation, and it focuses solely on getting the facts, getting the evidence. But if you're not factoring in someone's experience and going through that, then you're really missing a lot of the, the micro corroborations of what they're experiencing because of the traumatic event. So it's really important to work with each person that goes through a traumatic event on an individual basis so that you're really understanding what they're going through. So looking at victim-centered, that's a big part of it, is meeting people where they are, looking at what their needs are. We do investigative services. However, it may not be best for every person to go through a full investigation. So the way we framed our unit is really leading with support. So for special victims cases, as we're looking, connecting survivors with support services, with resources so that they can make informed decisions about what processes they want to participate in. So then when we look at our community care unit, there's a lot of intersectionality between RVSM issues and folks that go through, some behavioral mental health issues. And so we look at that intersectionality, and we look at that side from a trauma-informed lens as well.
And I should congratulate you on your amazing work in bringing down Larry Nassar, and just really appreciate all the great work you did there. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You've been doing this work for like 25 years, like we've talked about. What are some short and long-term goals as this becomes a little bit more official, what you're going to do under Chief Lynch?
Like I mentioned, we really want our unit to lead by support. So as folks, come into our process, whether they initiate it themselves, whether it's somebody on their behalf reports something to us, really setting support services first. And that really involves a lot of collaboration with our community partners, our campus partners, so that we're really working as a team to, provide support to students, to faculty, staff, and visitors that come here too.
Yep.
So in the short-term goal, really getting our unit trained in best practices, and again, that's a collaboration that we need to do with the whole community. Long-term is sustaining those relationships, having our team. We now have a social work intern on our team, and so making that part of our unit more robust so that we can enhance the services that we provide to our community.
And what about both some challenges and opportunities to achieving some of your goals?
The challenges, I think, one of the biggest ones right now is building trust with the community. And a lot of events historically and more recently have given people doubts about the police department, and that's understandable. And so we want folks to know that we're here to support them. We're really focused on, being a big piece of the university's mission to enhance student success, to make the culture healthy, respectful, and sustain that through the work that we do in collaboration with our partners.
And Chief Lynch, let me ask you, of course related to Andrea's work too, but what are some of your short and long-term goals as you get going leading the department?
This is the first semester. Andrea mentioned that we have a social work intern. This is the first semester we've had that through the School of Social Work with that. We plan to add a full-time role as a coordinator to assist that, and over time we'll add more student internships as well with that to coordinate with it. And then also the co-response to where we have an ability for the social worker to respond either with a community care detective or with police, and in some instances independently. So that's all progression that we'll build to as far as a short-term component with it. I think it was important overall as well to separate these types of investigative services and support from a general investigation because it really is a specialty with it, and it also deserves a level of independence in order to be able to work in a specific manner with it. So we'll continue to do that, but probably most importantly is the collaboration with our internal campus partners and the resources that are available to us here in Mid-Michigan for support of those particular victims or those who may need support on that level. Because although we're fortunate here at MSU to have a pretty good amount of resources with that, depending upon the time of day or night, some of those may not be available. And so we want to get to the point to where that it becomes a 24/7 function that can be reliable for members of our community.
And building on what Andrea said, what would you see as some of the challenges and opportunities as you expand this work?
I would agree the challenge is the community trust. It's a situation that's a national narrative in regards to police reform. And, we definitely heard the concerns from our community. We saw the recommendations from the task force. And our efforts, we've reallocated our funds and we redirected where our emphasis is. And Andrea's comments about leading with support, that's what it's about. It's providing the support for our community and being a trusted, reliable resource for our community. That would be a challenge, but I think the opportunity is the fact that there's a lot of willingness to do it. It's very well supported by university leadership. There are members of the community that have already reached out with support. There are opportunities as well that they will have through our Police and Public Safety Advisory Committee, to where there's a monthly opportunity to meet and help us with our strategic planning and initiatives. So, this is all day, every day, Russ. It's not, just sort of thinking about it one and done and
right.
we're moving on. It's all the time.
So, Marlon, summarize what you've done restructuring the police department and why you're doing that. What do you want the community to know?
Well, the structure of our department will be built on the community need with that. And so the message was loud and clear: community engagement, community support. Those areas are there. Traditional police services will remain there, but it may not necessarily be the emphasis with that. The structure is based on the feedback that we received, and the structure needs to be nimble. If things change, we change with it, and we'll continue to do that.
Well, Chief Lynch and Deputy Chief Munford, it's been great having you on the program and telling us about this important work at the MSU Department of Police and Public Safety. And our inaugural edition of Chopping It Up with the Chief went well, and we'll look forward to, Marlon, you bringing another key member of your executive team with you for the next visit. So thank you both for joining us.
Well, thank you, Russ. We definitely appreciate the opportunity to share our message, and it's always a pleasure.
Yes, thanks, Russ.
And I'm Russ White. This is MSU Today.